And she has let us know. Thank you very much, Deborah and Zoom lady. We greatly appreciate you all taking the time out of your day to join us. My name is Alicia Edelman, and I am the Research Development Coordinator in the Research and Innovation Office, also known as RIO, where we build capacity to enhance the research, scholarly, and creative activities at CU Boulder. Before we jump into the program details, I would like to go over a couple of ground rules. Please be sure to mute yourself when not speaking. This will help to eliminate background noise. Everyone seems to have that completed already, so thank you very much. Please feel free to speak up should you have questions at any point. We do want this to be as conversational as possible, and we also want to be sure that all of your questions are answered before leaving this session. I will be keeping an eye on the chat, so if you would rather not unmute yourself to speak up, I'm happy to do so on your behalf. With that, I am pleased to turn it over to my colleagues from the University of Colorado Anschutz Medical Campus, Deborah Schuster with the CCTSI Pilot Grant Program. She's the coordinator for the program, and Natalie Surkova, who is the director of the CCTSI Pilot Grant Program. Welcome, Natalie and Deborah, and we greatly appreciate having you today.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, CU Boulder. Hi, and I will try to share my screen. Should work. Let me see. No, it's not this one. Okay. Desktop. Here we go. I'm not sure actually I can do it.
Natalie, I think I can do it if you want me to stay on.
Yeah, because I don't actually, for some reason, I don't see my background, so I don't see my power. Okay, perfect. And yeah, sounds great. It's
that full screen now?
It is a full screen now, but it's too full. It's too large.
Ah, okay.
Why don't I see mine? Okay.
Try that.
Yeah, this is perfect now. Wonderful. Thank you. So, Deborah, using the last version, I sent it to you, right?
That's correct.
Okay, wonderful. So welcome to our session. And for those who are not sure what the CCTSI stands for, it's a Colorado Clinical Translational Science Institute. This is one of the biggest awards which the Anschutz campus has received to support all kind of translational, and translational is a very broad term, biomedical research. So the pilot grant program is one of the most essential parts of the NIH CTSA award, CTSA program. And this grant program, which we're presenting to you today, is overseen by myself, by Dr. Van de Woede from the CSU, and Drs. Baker and Zeitler from the Children's Hospital, particularly for the Child Maternal Health Pilot Grant Program. Next slide, please, Deborah. So CCTSI awards approximately $3 million per year in pilot grants, micro grants, and pre-doctoral and postdoctoral research scholar awards. So it's a relatively large program every year. And our funding sources are definitely from the NIH, which is the National Center for Advancing Translational Science, NCATS, and it's also matched by the University of Colorado School of Medicine, Dean's Office, and the Children's Hospital. You can find more about this on our links about the fundings. Next slide, please. And who can apply to our pilot grants, which we do once a year, our new RFAs and new application deadlines. So everyone who is a CCTSI members, and the CCTSI members membership is free, and you just have to be a faculty or affiliate from our affiliate institutions, such as the CU Anschutz Medical Campus, CU Boulder, CU Denver, Colorado State University, UCH, University Hospital, Children's, National Jewish Hospital, VA, and even Kaiser Permanente are among our affiliated institutions. Once again, just use this link to confirm that you can become a member of the CCTSI. Once again, it's absolutely free. Faculty, graduate, undergraduate, postdoctoral students, and fellow can also become CCTSI members, and we obviously encourage underrepresented female and minority researchers to apply for the membership, to become a member, and to apply for our grants. Next, please. And this is some statistics. It's just to show that among all activities which are included in our CTSA award, CCTSI, Translational Pilot Grant program is probably one of the everybody most familiar with. So as you can see here, let me just move so it has been utilized by approximately 50% of all CCTSI members at some time of their careers, and how important those pilot grants were for the career, especially of the junior faculty. You can see here on the top. So only 3% said that it was not very crucial for them, but 54% said it was really very important, and 43% said those grants were crucial in obtaining further grants and fundings using the CCTSI Pilot Awards as preliminary first step. Next, please. So, as I said, translational research is a very broad definition. So for us and for the NIH, translational research covers all 4 tiers of biomedical research, from the T0, which is a preclinical basic research, to the translation to humans, translation to clinical settings, and even translation to population. So T0, T1, T2, T3, T4. And we do have 4 subcategories of those pilot grants, which are dedicated to all 4 tiers of the biomedical research. We have our major is a Colorado pilot, co-pilot. Then it's another subcategory is child and maternal health. Then we have a translational methods, which mostly related to the development of new technologies, assays, and so on and so on. And finally, the subcategory, which is really dedicated to the tier T3 and T4, is community engagement grants, pilot grants. Next slide, please. So if we're talking about our largest program, this is the Colorado Co-Pilot Grant Program, and this encourages cross-disciplinary and collaborative research in clinical and translation medicine, specifically with the focus on early stage investigators, except of the CU-CSU Collaboration Awards. The program directors are myself and Dr. Sue Van de Woode from the CSU. And the award categories include a new one since last year, Early Stage Investigator Diversity Award. So this is really supports underrepresented PIs in the first 3 to 5 years of their careers. And this is 1 award per year. Then we have several mentored and junior faculty awards, which we encourage everyone in the first very early years of their career, including fellows and postdocs for the mentored faculty and junior faculty assistant professors, to apply for those awards. And then also CSU-CU collaboration, which is a little bit bigger grants for more established investigators, but this requires CSU-CU collaboration. And I hope in the future we might even have something as the AB Nexus to have a CU Boulder CU collaboration, but right now it's not on our program. Next, please.
Natalie, I want to remind everyone on the call that if you apply for the Early Stage Investigator Diversity Award, and we only have one kind of funding for one award there, so anyone who applies who maybe isn't in that number one slot is automatically considered for funding within the junior faculty category. You don't have to do a separate submission or anything, but we just don't want to, we want to make sure we fund good research rather than sticking very strictly to the number of awards in each category. So you will be automatically entered into the running for the junior faculty as well.
Thank you, Deborah. This is great. And obviously, CU Boulder faculty can apply for all junior faculty mentored and diversity awards. So the amount of the award is $30,000 per junior mentor early investigator and $60,000 for the CSU-CU collaboration. Our requirement that you have a research proposal which is designed for 1 year. So we do not usually encourage no cost extension. Obviously with the pandemic and the COVID situation is a little bit different, but your research project and your budget should be a 1 year proposal. And who can apply for those? Everyone from postdoctoral fellows through assistant professor for early awards, 30K, and professors for the CSU-CU collaborations. The major goals is definitely support junior faculty, early stage investigators in their efforts to become an independent PI. We want to facilitate developing preliminary data on hypothesis-driven projects for future application to the NIH R01s, R21s, K awards. And for the CSU-CU collaboration, foster new collaboration. As I said, this is just a model for CSU-CU, but in the future, it can be translated to the Boulder environment as well. Next, please. So child and maternal health CMH pilot grant program, it's exactly like similar to the junior and mentored grants from the co-pilots, but the focus is definitely on children of all ages, as well as pregnant women and mothers of newborn. And we really, if you have anything related to the CMH, you should be applying to the CMH and not co-pilots. And this is overseen by 2 of our faculty from the Children's Hospital. Next, please, Children's Hospital. And it's also 30K per year. We probably have 6 to 12, depending on the funding situation, awards for the CMH. And once again, everyone from all campuses, from all affiliate institutions, from postdoctoral fellow through assistant professors can apply for those grants. We want to support junior faculty, early stage investigator to get the preliminary data and to apply for the R01. I hope it's not much background noise with the building construction here. Next, please. Gosh. So the next category is a translational methods. And actually, historically, we have we have several strong CU Boulder faculty applying for this program. This is not a hypothesis-driven research. This is a technology developing grants. And we want to facilitate developing functioning and validated methodology, which presently not exist at our campuses. So just to develop something new and useful for our CCTSI community. I personally oversee this program, and among this program, we have a different categories, just general translational methods, can be anything. New essays, new software, new contrast agent, new questionnaire, something which is really needed to go ahead with the biomedical research and ideally can be disseminated among many PIs. We also have one subcategory, which is biostatistics and bioinformatics, because obviously it is the key for many researchers. And we also have a Colorado State University which PI needs to be from CSU. Once again, it's just something we're building around as multi-institutional program. And the new in 2022 RFA, it's just because here at the Anschutz, I don't know if you know this, we have a very unique and only one in Colorado and Rocky Mountain region animal imaging center, which received a lot of the NIH equipment and support. So recently in the past 2 years, so we encourage everyone who has some idea to develop new animal imaging protocols to apply this year for these grants using the Anschutz animal imaging shared resources. Next slide, please. And those translational method pilots are 20,000 per year for 1 year. And this is for a little bit more established investigators. So we don't accept postdocs, but everybody from instructors to professors can apply for this from any campus. And this provides support for developing new technology, assays, algorithms, animal models, support new collaboration between technology-driven PI and application PI. This is not a requirement, but it's really encouraged to have this collaboration between technology, expertise, and application dissemination PI, and also facilitate dissemination of the new technology among all CCTSI research community. Next, please. So the community engagement CI pilot grants overseen by Maternal. It's usually a smaller grant for partnership development between our faculty, hospitals, and community in hospitals and community partners. And we also have a 1 or 2 bigger 20K joint projects, but also really focused on the T3, T4 tier in biomedical research. Next, please. So this is important for the applicants to know how we're going to review and score those applications. So the most important in all categories, just, reflecting the NIH guidelines and priorities as well, is definitely innovation. So is the proposal innovative and novel in its hypothesis, approaches, and techniques, and particularly for translational methods, is the technology novel and is going to bring something which we technologically don't have yet here in Colorado. Also, second criteria is approach and scientific merit. So are the hypothesis and experimental approach sound? Is it doable in 1 year? What is likelihood of success given the study design? And do we think that it has a potential, especially for the early stage investigators, to result in the larger NIH applications, collaborations and grants, which comes to the cross-disciplinary collaborative focus is important and significance, especially to the CCTSI mission, understanding the disease, human disease diagnosis and prevention and treatment of human diseases. Next, please. So further criteria which you have to pay attention in your application is our investigators, especially for the junior faculty. Just you have to show that you're really dedicated to the academic career. For mentor awards, if there's sufficient justification for continuation of the existing mentorship. Do you need a new mentor? Is the mentor really committed to help you to get you to the independent status in 1 or 2 years of your career? And non-scorable criteria, and it's obviously minority and underrepresented background PIs and junior faculties. Health equity is another non-scorable criteria. For example, if your research addresses some health disparity in our patient population. Scorable criteria are environment and, very important, educational mission. Obviously, educational mission is already there if we're talking about mentored and junior award, but even for translational methods is that how are you going to teach your community, your students, those new technologies which you are promising us to develop. And also we always encourage to include undergraduate, graduate students, fellows in your project and study design. Next, please. And this is a little bit history of fundings. As I mentioned, so if you just see like year by year from 2019 to 2021, how many letter of intent, how many applications, and how many awards we have issued in those past 3 years. And as I mentioned, co-pilot program is the biggest program, and we usually receive somewhere between 100 and 150 letter of intent, which are a requirement because it helps us to plan our study section, review study sections. And then followed by, you see the second belt, it's how many actual application we received. And then finally, the dark blue or dark yellow, it's how many awards we have issued each year. And the funding levels are competitive. It's somewhere between 20 to 30%. It's a little bit more on the community engagement, CE pilots, but among co-pilots, child maternity, health, and translational methods, it's steadily around 20 to 30%. 2021 was a very obviously unusual year because of the pandemic. We also had a huge COVID-based research program awards in April 2020. In general, statistics are pretty much consistent among the years. Next, please.
I just want to mention really quick that our process involves with the letter of intent that if you have an idea for a project, you're allowed to submit as many letters of intent for multiple projects as you like. But when it comes down to it, you can only be sort of in a key role as for example, the principal investigator, co-PI, co-investigator on only one application. And that's one of the reasons why you see this drop between the number of LOIs and the number of applications actually submitted.
And very often after the submission of LOI, letter of intent, the PI will contact me or Deborah and just discuss what is the biggest likelihood of the funding or interest or, infrastructural commitment we could, recommend among those LOIs. And yeah, so only one project should be submitted any given year for the co-pilots and CMH. However, if you submitted co-pilot or CMH pilot, you still may apply for the translational method or CE pilot. But it's still only one in those categories. Next, please. So it's just a little bit statistics, and actually statistics comes not from the application process, but from the survey which we have conducted among our awardees. And we can see that the majority of the awards goes to the Anschutz Medical Campus. We have, it's 81%, 9% to CSU, and 5% Boulder. So this is something we really would like to increase. We would like to increase the participation and number of the awards going to the strong PIs in strong projects at the CU Boulder. We're also very happy to see that we do cover a lot of female PI, junior PI investigators, and also underrepresented minority, which were 11% of all our awardees. Next, please. And now Deborah, if you don't mind to talk a little bit about the application process per se and your amazing efforts in creating red caps for the application and review process, just go ahead.
Absolutely, thank you. I am Deborah Schuster, and I'm the Pilot Grant Program administrator, and so I'm the technical person. I know all of the ins and out of applying, the RFA rules and regulations. I take care of activating all of the awards, monitoring them, setting up all the financial spending accounts, that thing. So I'm your technical resource for the Pilot Grant Awards. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to apply, what that mechanism is. So if you go to the CCTSI website, you will see a funding tab. And if you click on that funding tab, it'll see the drop-down list. We've got our 4 pilot grant programs. And if you go to any one of those pages, here's the Colorado Grant Pilot Grant Program as an example, you will see the award categories. The RFA, which is the request for applications, is posted on that website as a PDF. And that is the most important document. When it comes down to it, that is the document that is going to tell you absolutely everything that you need to do, the criteria, the inclusion criteria, exclusion criteria, deadlines, contact information, absolutely everything is in the RFA. We do have some frequently asked questions on this web page as well, if you to help guide you through. But if it's not in the RFA, you can always address or email me to get some more specific information if you have specific questions not covered in the RFA. We also have some information and resources like applicant checklists, the PI eligibility by academic rank tables, and then the budget template that we ask you to use when you submit your application. Over on the left-hand panel, you see there are 2022 key dates, and that's where you can join our Zoom calls, just reminders of our contact information and our deadlines. So when you click on the PI eligibility by academic rank link on the Copilot web page or the Child Maternal Health web page or the Translational Methods web page, you'll see this document come up. So if you're asking yourself, am I allowed to apply for this particular award? This is the document that you need to look at. Obviously, if there's a checkbox in the box, then you are eligible to apply at that rank. If you have any questions about your eligibility, given your situation, again, email me and we can discuss that internally. A couple of things I just want to mention here on our Mentored Faculty Awards. This is in the Colorado Pilot Program as well as the Child and Maternal Health Program. When you are thinking about a mentor for your award, be thinking not just about the person who is, or people who are helping mentor you through your career or through your studies. What we want to see on your application is your mentor who is going to help guide you through your pilot grant award to make sure you're on track, to make sure that maybe you haven't had a lot of funding experience before. This is the person that's going to guide you and advise you on how to execute a pilot grant award, in addition to making sure that the research happens. So just kind of be thinking of that in the back of your mind. We do allow you to have one primary mentor or two co-mentors listed in key roles on your application. This is the budget template, and you feel free to customize these categories of expenses based on what makes the most sense for your project. The idea is that sometimes people are spending their award funds across different institutions. And so we want to see where the money is going to be spent institutionally, because when it comes down to activating your award, that will help me set up your accounts to spend the money. And I'll show you here, this is the application checklist, again, also available from those funding pages on the CCTSI website. And this is just kind of a little cheat sheet to help you remind you of which type of award you're looking at and what is required and what is optional. So make sure you check out that checklist. When in doubt, go back to the RFA, because the absolute bottom line answer is always in the RFA. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Sirkova to talk a little bit more about the resources that we would love to see included in your application.
Yes, so and since our program is so focused on the early stage investigators, sometimes it's very difficult to navigate about what kind of help and what kind of infrastructure and resources you can access and have take advantage of. So the CCTSI itself provides a lot of clinical human research infrastructure, starting with the IRB submission, protocol submission, translational informatics, and also research ethics, recruiting patients. This all will be available to you, and very often, not just with the reduced fees, but sometimes even free for the junior and early stage investigators. So definitely you don't have to, sometimes, especially for the Boulder campus, those clinical aspects of the infrastructure are highly important. We really encourage you to take advantage of the existing infrastructure, and you can check it on the website. Then next, please. In addition to the more clinical, like it's called CTRC and infrastructure, which you can find the description of those services and infrastructure here, you can definitely go ahead and contact the so-called technology shared resources. Next slide, please. And we do know that you have a very strong shared resources at the CU Boulder, and we're trying to even combine in the information and in one page among the all shared resources. But for example, for the including the Claudius Mandoma, who is a great director of your shared resources. On the Anschutz campus, we do have a very unique technology course under Colorado UCCC, University of Colorado Cancer Center umbrella, which actually a lot of CU Boulder faculty are Cancer Center members. But for example, if you go to the UCCC website, you can find that we provide shared resources for animal imaging, biostatistics, bioinformatics, cell technology, drug discovery, flow cytometry, structural biology, mass spectrometry, and so on and so on. Some of those you also have at CU Boulder, and you should definitely give a priority to your course. And if you have any questions about the shared resources and their services, you can contact me or Claudius directly and just ask, to establish the collaboration or services with those cores. Or you can reach out to the Cancer Center. For example, as I said, I'm overseeing animal imaging, and we are the only animal imaging facility in the entire Rocky Mountain region. So we can image your animals with MRI, CT, optical imaging, ultrasound, whatever you need to do. And we definitely have some reduced prices and open free scan times or free services among other courses for the junior faculty, just to help you to start generating your preliminary data. So especially for the junior faculty, it is very important to have a very strong support both on the mentorship side, but also on the technology side. So the inclusion of the shared resources, established shared resources in your pilot grants is very encouraged. Next, please.
Before we move on, I want to mention that Dr. Starkova is obviously very involved with the imaging services on our campus. So if you're going to be using some of the imaging services, and she sort of is a consultant to using that equipment, you do not need to list her as a PI or co-investigator or anything like that on your application. So there's no conflict of interest there. She may help you figure out how to utilize that facility, but she is not really part of your study team. So you don't need to include her in your application in a key role.
Yeah, and usually with the all shared resources, you definitely have to include them in your grant, but they don't need to be key role, because this is what they were supposed to do. We're supposed just to provide the technology services. So don't feel obligated to add any of the shared resources stuff on your key role. And Alicia, thank you so much. If you go to the chat, you can see the link also to the CU Boulder shared instrumentation and the email address of Dr. Claudius Mondoma, who is the contact person at the CU Boulder for shared resources. And I am officially contact person for the Cancer Center shared resources at the Anschutz medical campus. Thank you, Deborah. And let's just talk a little bit. Deborah, would you like to mention the deadlines for our pilots?
Sure. So we kind of have two layers of deadlines. The first coming up is the Colorado Pilot and Child Maternal Health Pilot Grant programs. Our letter of intent deadline is coming up this Monday at 5 p.m. Again, just make sure that if you have multiple projects, go ahead and submit multiple letters of intent. The information on there should be pretty solid, but it is not binding. If you get to the application form, you are allowed to add it or change co-investigators, for example, or add and mentor, make any corrections that might have happened from the LOI form. I do want to point out as well, the translational methods deadline is a little bit longer. We've got until October 4th before those intent to apply forms are due. I just want to mention too, back on our CCTSI webpage, the slides from today's presentation, as well as the recording, is going to be posted over on that side panel of key dates on both the co-pilot, child maternal health, and translational methods pilot grants programs. Dr. Starkova, you're on mute.
Of course I am. And this is pretty much all what we have wanted to present it to you, and this is some information which you could use, and email addresses which you can reach out to. We're really here to help you to find your directions, especially for the junior and early stage investigators, to find your collaborators, to find even mentors sometimes. So if you have any questions, if you think your idea might be crazy for the translational methods, don't think so. Just tell me about your idea, and we'll see how we can, dress it up and just make it really useful, not just for you as the PI, but also for the entire CCTSI community. Our overreaching goal for sure is just to provide you with enough preliminary data, enough resources, enough new collaborations, so you can go to the next step and submit the NIH, DoD, society awards, foundation awards on a larger scale, which is really, it's not an easy task for anyone, but especially for the junior faculty nowadays. So if you have any questions, just you can definitely ask us now, or you can drop, use the chat function, or you can just also contact us after this session is completed.
As a reminder, please feel free to use the chat or unmute yourselves to ask any questions you may have. I'll go ahead and ask a question just to get us started off. Do you guys mind walking us through the letter of intent and just what you expect at that point?
Absolutely. So our letter of intent is very, very, very basic. If you go to the CCTSI website on those funding pages, you'll see a button that says submit your intent to apply form or LOI now. And you click on that button and it takes you to basically what's a REDCap online survey, if you're familiar with that. So it's an online form, and we ask you for the title of your project, your contact information as the PI, you can add a co-PI in some cases. For example, for the Translational Methods Pilot Grant Awards, we love to see those collaborations between researchers. If you're looking for a collaborator, by the way, Dr. Strykova can very much help you find someone to collaborate for those Translational Methods Awards. So once you get into that letter of intent, again, the contact information, just a few basic disclaimers, and then you hit submit. And that's, I go through and screen, one of the questions we ask you on there is what kind of research and what kind of research topics your study involves. And I use that to help match up your application with our review panel. So each application is reviewed by 2 individuals, and if they score high enough, then they go on to be discussed at a full meeting with usually between 20 and 40 reviewers who give a group discussion and end up giving the final scores for the applications. And then from there, the top scoring applications are the ones that get chosen for funding based on funding availability. So letter of intent is very simple. It takes maybe 5 minutes to fill out that form. So just get that submitted, get that in. When you go on and you submit that form, you'll get a link to your emailed to you for your confirmation that the submission was successful. And that email will also include a link to your online application form. And that's where we ask for the single PDF of all of the documentation required in the RFA, including bio sketches, your study design, your abstract, all that kind of, your budget, all of that information is outlined in the RFA. We also ask a little bit about how you're collecting your data, methods of designs. These, again, there are things that help us in our review panel, especially to sort out, is this a solid proposal? Is it well written? Does it sound like it is going to be feasible? Do you have the resources to accomplish your aims within the 1-year time frame? So remember, ultimately, you are writing this application form for the reviewers to convince them that your pilot study is worthy of going forward for funding. So Alicia, does that answer your question? Do you have any other details?
That was perfect. Thank you so much, Deborah. I think that'll be helpful for some of our junior faculty to just hear how easy it is to go ahead and get an LOI submitted. All right, anybody else with any questions? Just gonna give people a minute to think. All right, well, if we don't have any more questions, like Natalie said, feel free to reach out to either Natalie or Deborah. If you have any follow-up questions, you are more than welcome to ask me as well, but I will likely pass you on to them. So it's completely up to you, but either way, we will make sure that your questions get answers. And we will be sending up a follow-up email with the presentation and a link to the recording. So if you need to look over anything, highly recommend opening the presentation and taking advantage of all these great links to all of the different areas of CCTSI. Thank you so much, Natalie and Deborah. We have loved having you guys, and we look forward to continuing our collaboration in the future.
Thanks so much, Alicia, for
Thank
organizing.
you. Thank you.